As the morning sun rises in the north, it sheds light on a new generation of ice floes in the Arctic. A change that will raise many concerns regarding the environment and operational securities for America and her partnering nations. While the Earth's climate continues to change, the Navy prepares for what could become a crucial strategic interest.
The Arctic is important not only to the Navy, but to the country at large. It's going to become a major sea lane.
And as these sea lanes begin to emerge, the Navy will rely on research and science to guide the way. Roughly 200 miles north of Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, an ice camp is constructed and maintained by sailors, scientists, and engineers in support of the Navy's ice exercise, also known as ICEX.
So we're here to measure the thickness of the ice cover. And the reason that we're here to measure the thickness of the ice cover is to help submarine operations. For starters, submarines need to know the thickness of the ice cover for tactical purposes. They also need to know them for safety purposes. A submarine needs to surface if it's in trouble, so it needs to know where the thin ice lays. And submarines also play a role, in addition to an operational standpoint, they also play a role scientifically. Submarines have been taking information about ice thickness, again, for operational purposes, but they've been storing that information and keeping it since the 1950s. And that information actually gives us the best history we have of how thickness is changing as a function of time, and right now as a function of climate change.
Submarines collecting this data will face various challenges along the way. Communication will be vital.
And then we can go into the set drift, position the boat.
Well, the biggest challenge under the Arctic, unlike any other ocean in the world, is you can't go up to the surface at any time you want. There's a lot of ice up there, so you have to find a place you can go up, and you have to make sure your systems and your crew's trained to operate for lengthy periods of time under the ice.
You'll still go with it if you're pointing into it. What I don't want to do is sit up. I want to be able to counteract that too.
You also would treat casualties different and some operations a little differently than you would being able to come to periscope depth. So at the ice camp, there's a grid that extends about 10 miles around the ice camp. And within that grid, we can communicate via underwater telephone. And sound goes through the water, your voice goes through the water to the ice camp.
Iceman, this is Atlas. Marvin Garden's team departed my location.
Well, if you just hang on a second, we're gonna give it to you.
We do have some very effective systems on board that we use to keep track of what's overhead and what's in front of us too.
Submarines originally surface at an angle, a maneuver which minimizes stress on the vessel's hull. However, in the Arctic, punching through 3 to 4 feet of ice will require a vertical surfacing, making it a much slower process.
Right in the middle. Good shot.
Guys are directly behind us. Forward of us. Or no, they're forward of us. Sorry. Awesome.
Upon surfacing, members from the Applied Physics Laboratory will go to work, cutting through thick chunks of ice to allow access on and off the submarine.
This gentleman right here would really like to point.
We'll see what we can do about that.
No!
Hatches open. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Woo.
Back at the camp, Captain Jaehn and his crew of British and Canadian Navy counterparts maintain the watch, coordinating a vast array of operational duties.
We have an incredible partnership with the Royal Navy as well as the Canadian Navy to provide watch standard support for 24/7 submarine operational safety during our exercise period. We not only control and manage all the submarine operations, we also control and manage all the flight operations that support, including helicopter flights with remote field parties out to remote sites in the Arctic.
The Arctic presents unique tactical advantages the ICEX team will continue to analyze. However, this exercise is not cheap, and with future budget cuts, researchers like Jackie and her crew continue to stress its importance.
And if you're going to operate in an environment, you have to practice, you have to be ready to operate in an environment. And the Department of Defense really prides itself on being ready to go to any environment if need be.
The Navy still has much to learn about the Arctic, and time will only tell where these sea lanes may lead. Reporting for All Hands Television, I'm Petty Officer Andrew Breeze.